Welcome to the Night Temple, a weekly podcast about art, memory, and inspiration.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Night Temple. We're here today with Michael Salerno, who is an incredible artist, visual artist, filmmaker, musician as well, actually. I'm Carisa, and
I'm Andrew.
We're from Night Tongue. We're Night Tongue, and we're your hosts. This is a really cool interview for me because I am a long-time fan and also grew up with Michael. We've been in bands together. We've done movies together. We've done a lot of work together in the past. And we lived together for 12 years. So it's exciting to talk to you. I wanted to start, though, with asking you about what brought you to becoming an artist, because I've known you forever, and I don't think I ever really asked this question, because you were, to me, you were just an artist from the time that we met. So so what actually started that for you as a kid in your life?
Well, I guess, I don't know. I don't really remember a time where I wasn't making stuff. So my whole kind of childhood really was just me being alone in my bedroom making stuff, either making music or designing record covers for albums that didn't exist, and filming outside my bedroom window and making movies and doing stuff like that. So yeah, I really don't remember any other way of being apart from this way, and I'm still, exactly the same. So I'm still just locked away in my little place making stuff.
Was it like a camera or something you got, or was it like, do you remember like getting something that would made you start like drawing or something, or instrument?
Well, my family got a like a handy cam when I was probably 8 or around then, and so I started using that all the time and making. I used to shoot out my bedroom window all the time, so just filming what was out there, which was nothing much but trees and clouds and rain and stuff like that. And then I started making these kind of pretty, abstract little weird movies. But I was always making music as well when I was a kid. I was always making music, like making, shitty music,
What shitty music?
I don't know, just silly songs, that were, probably, completely terrible, kid music. Then I started making movies. I started making, just weird little movies, sometimes with friends in them, and occasionally with my brother or something in them. And kind of did that. And then we made many weird movies. And so I kind of I really always kind of felt like I was a filmmaker. But then when I got older, I started making kind of visual arts stuff, and for some reason I don't know, I got more, I don't know, people started knowing me as that, and I started making zines and things like that, and I started a little small press, and so I kind of started doing that, and
I mean, you're a really good writer as well. Like part of the zines was like, your short stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, those stories are really like demented.
They're awesome. I still think about one story that you wrote. It was like about a little kid that was people thought he was getting the stigmata.
Oh yeah.
And, like, everyone was like praising. It was like he's a chosen child and he was getting the stigmata, and then the last line of the story is that it just turned out that he was a Satanist and a cutter.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, to me, that I used to write these. I mean, at that time, I was writing really stupid stories that I thought were really funny, but are just dumb, really. Like, but
I still find it funny.
It's supposed to be like Dostoevsky or something. I don't know.
Not Dostoevsky level at all. It was like as juvenile as possible, which granted is still my sense of humor is like this.
What early influences were there for you? And if any that are like interesting or unusual or maybe not unusual, like.
Well, it depends what period we're talking about. I mean, there's always people that I'm interested in and obsessed with and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, probably, something that was pretty huge was I mean, I was really, as you know, I was really into the kind of Riot Girl kind of thing was really, I think, really influential to me. Like the whole aesthetic of that kind of early 90s kind of thing, that grungy kind of thing, and also that kind of punk kind of attitude of DIY, blah blah blah, all that stuff. But I mean, that was that was probably still there's the it's still present in my work today, because I like things that are have emotion and have texture and are more tangible, and I don't like things that are sleek. Like with my movies, with movies in general, I find them really unwatchable, to be honest, these days, because everything looks like a TV commercial, and I hate that. It's horrible. It's horrifying. So yeah.
So it's like the punk aesthetic, basically, the punk aesthetic and the.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, among a billion other things, along the way, and I'm constantly, like everyone, there's always things that I'm obsessed with at a particular moment, and but that was huge. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the formative influences are like always interesting. I think people just sometimes just have these like triggers that get set off by whatever it is, even if it's not, the direction, what you do yourself, it's still kind of a catalyst or something like that. In the sense that Riot Girl is a big one of those. I can really see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was something that was like that was really like that the whole kind of that early 90s punk thing, which was right when I was becoming a teenager, was that was really like my mind was kind of way blown open by that.
Yeah.
And, so that was like super exciting to me. And I'd never seen. I mean, I grew up on in the suburban Australia, and it was like, pop music and, junk. And I'd never seen, like things like that. I'd never seen people, screaming and, swearing and all this kind of stuff in music, and, being super, aggressive and and all that stuff. I mean, that was super exciting to me as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there like a film equivalent of that for you as well? Like something that kind of broke the brain a little when it came to, like, commercials or like perfume versus like actually going down a different kind of track with that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, there was a few films when I was really young that were very influential, and it turns out they were all directed by David Lynch, and I didn't know at the time, but I saw The Elephant Man when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and that completely traumatized me. And then I saw Blue Velvet when I was maybe like 8 or 9, and that completely traumatized me and excited me. And then I saw Twin Peaks, and that was when I realized, and I was obsessed with that. And that was when I realized that these films were all made by the same person. And probably, somewhere around that time, I became kind of aware of, a film director, someone that makes movies. So, I mean, those films were like super, super influential. And then there's been, a bazillion films along the way. I was thinking today about My Own Private Idaho, which is, but that was, I think when I saw that film, I saw it when it came out at the cinema, and I had never seen a film that was so poetic before, just kind of visually poetic. I'd never seen that before. And that was super, like, that made me like, okay, I want to do that. Like, which
I can see the connection there too, actually, now that you mention that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, there was like the visual of that film, all the shots, the barn, the clouds, like so many amazing images, like, which I really never seen that before. And I had seen a lot of art house movies, things like that. I really grew up watching movies and but that was a big one too. That was a big one.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think about, like what's the connection between those films and like the kind of riot girl and the punk aesthetic. Like I wonder, is there something like about like the feeling of medium or something, like the feeling of film and like the act of making or something like that? There's, I don't know, like the way that David Lynch, has this kind of like heightened reality, like heightened reality and the heightened feeling, or something about, like almost like a quality you can almost kind of like touch, like.
Absolutely. I mean, his early films as well, like, up until probably Wild at Heart, I think, was really kind of the end of that. But I think he was like, his films were so tactile, there was so, the sensations in them were so, you could feel them, there was so much feeling in those films, and they were so charged with, emotion and darkness and humor and, I mean, everything. I mean, there's not many, films that are better than Blue Velvet, really. I mean, it's, and it's a film that I've seen, a million times, and it's still super, super powerful. So,
yeah. And My Own Private Idaho's got that, like in a completely different way, but that feeling of play and like, I don't know, there's like this feeling of like a sense of like finding truth through its own kind of, isn't never pretending to be real or something. Like it's kind of more real because it's got this like juxtaposition of like kind of whimsy and like of, this kind of gritty,
like hyper reality.
Like I guess there's a hyper reality. I don't know.
Sure.
I can see why your films have that too. There's like a hyper reality. It's like the truth inside of the film is like really like amplified to its fullest possible feeling.
I mean, I guess my films are kind of like they are. Well, they're like they're closed worlds, you know. They're like, they don't take place in the real world, really. They're like, they're their own little universe, you know. So
I feel like there is a similarity in just the hyper sensation, because I feel like your films are just like, you just feel so much, it's almost sickening, like the hyper reality of it, like the whatever the kernel of emotion is at the center of it is just expanded and like amplified in such a way that you just feel it in such a like visceral way, which is something I don't think you ever really get from films ordinarily, even like dramas, where you have, you know, a lot of the times, I mean, we're like film composers, a lot of the times, like the music is telling the audience how the characters are feeling, or what the feeling of the film is, or even like what the perspective of the film is. But I feel like in your films, you're able to capture that like heightened level of feeling just from the pacing and the camera shots and what's not happening in the scene as well. It's like there's like like it's like a capturing of like a heightened emotional state through the lens itself. I
mean, what I try to do, and what I've, the last sort of 10 years or so, I've been kind of on this journey of, I mean, for me, it's like all about taking everything out. So it's like, you know, anything that's not absolutely essential is not there. And everything that's
really intense to feel. Like, it's like, it means that what you're getting is just like pure.
Yeah. I mean, you know, also, you know, I mean, my films and anything I do, it all comes from this one particular place too. And it's completely, there's like an element of unconsciousness about it. So it comes from somewhere, you know, primal. It comes from somewhere that's, it comes from somewhere really that I always think it's like kind of a pre-language place. And it's like this thing that I'm trying to articulate. And so I'm always trying to get better at articulating it. And so that's what I'm trying to do every time I do something. It's like, try to get closer and closer to this thing. And it's something that I can't put into words. And it's something that's, so yeah, it's like it's a feeling thing, and you kind of have to feel around in the dark, you know, for it. The
pre-language thing, it just takes me back to this idea of like the way the brain works. There are these primal areas of the brain that are connected with, you know, whatever millions, billions of neural networks that are all sensation around everything that we've ever felt from birth. You know, it's like language kind of comes last along that journey. Do you feel like you're pulling in unconscious stuff from childhood as well? And
yeah, absolutely.
Or is it like more of a universal thing? Well, I mean, or both.
No, it's totally personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's totally personal, and something very, very, very specific too. But it's something that it's I can't even put it into words. I mean, that's why I think that's why I feel the need to keep making these things, which are often, you know, the same thing again and again and again. And if you look at my, you know, visual artwork, it's all the same, you know, thing. And it's just I'm becoming aware of this now. I didn't only, you know, recently I'm becoming more aware of this, but before it was completely unconscious. It was just like I would go in this zone and I would just like, and I never made, you know, work very often either. Like now I'm talking about my kind of collage and photography stuff, which I don't know how much you've seen of it, but it's like I never made it very much. Like I would do it like it would kind of just come out in like, you know, 1 or 2 days, and I would make like, you know, 100 artworks, and then I would put it away, and I would not make anything for sometimes a year or two after. It's like it would only just be when the feeling was kind of like pushing me to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's for me, it seems to be a good way to work. And I'm trying to do that more with my films as well, which is difficult because the way you kind of have to find money for a film is, you need a script and you need to explain what it is and all these kinds of things. And I hate that. And so like when I made the Masturbator's Heart, first of all, I never thought about the script. I wrote it in a couple of days. It just kind of fell out, and then I never thought about it again. And then I tried as much as I could to leave all of the decision making up to the very, very, very last second, so that I could only operate on instinct and not think about things. And then with my new short film, which you guys did the music for, we completely, like, I had written a script, but we did it completely, punk rock style, and we were just completely following feeling, and everything was, could change, and nothing really did change, but it could, So
Yeah.
I'm also a control freak.
I mean, it seems that you're just like really in touch with this. I guess almost just like childlike, just spontaneous, creative, kind of pure creative thing. I don't know. You got this like natural connection to like your subconscious through creativity, but there's like no room for even like asking what that is, because it's just it has to like come into being or something like that. And it almost seems like the characters like kind of, I mean, not in an artistic way, but just in like an emotional way. They're just kind of like acting on like feeling and like impulse and
I mean that's what I tried. That's what I try to do. I mean, I think the reason for that is because I was seriously like had zero consciousness about really what I was doing, and I worked like that for such a long period that it's like, I've never been a professional, I've never so I was just so used to just being in my own little world, and I would just only do things when I really felt like they just were falling out. And I have things that I have films that I've been writing for 10 years for a long time, and for me they're the ones that I can never actually make them, because they've become thought about, they've entered the kind of the mind. And so now I like for things to be, for them to just kind of everything to happen on instinct. And I like the feeling of walking around in the dark, because I feel like if I'm doing that, then I'm on the right track, like I don't want to see where I'm going. And I mean, with the actors and stuff like that, like with Ange, the actor in The Masturbator's Heart, I worked with him for a year before we shot the movie, because we were originally supposed to shoot in 2020, right when the lockdown thing happened, and then we couldn't shoot till a year later. So we spent a whole year like meeting once a week, and we didn't rehearse any of the scenes from the movie, but basically I interviewed him, and then we would do like weird kind of meditation exercises and just, I don't know, intimacy kind of things. And we got so kind of hooked into the same thing that, by the time we shot the movie, like I did not have to tell him anything. Like I gave him really zero direction, because he had actually like, he wasn't acting, like he just became it, because he understood that the whole thing was, I don't want to see it, I don't want to see what you're feeling. I just want you to feel it. And that was kind of our approach. Like, I don't want to see it. If I see it, then it's, you're doing it wrong, like, you just have to be it. So that was our kind of thing.
It just makes me think about vulnerability and just how vulnerability works. Like, when you express something and it becomes overt, it almost enters this pain zone. But so long as you can kind of express it from this place that exists inside, not a place that's like overt, it kind of retains its intensity. And I feel like that's how your films are, like they retain the intensity and also like kind of express the feeling of what it's like to actually feel something in reality. It's like a lot of the times, like you watch a movie and people are like expressing their emotions, you know, and it's like realistically we don't necessarily do that. A lot of what
for me as well. Like the thing that I try to do, like that I try to do with my films is I mean, I hate words. I'm not a words person. And so it's like, okay, how can we express everything that we want to express without words and without showing you, but to actually make you feel it? So, I mean, you know, in filmmaking, it's like, you know, it's super important you know, we spent so long finding the house that we shot in because I had this specific like texture. I wanted this particular kind of wallpaper. I wanted this, you know, the feelings of everything around it was so specific. And, you know, I drove everyone completely fucking crazy trying to find exactly the right, you know, mood, because it's like everything that you point the camera at is telling you something. It's giving you information. And it's like, how do you give information in a way where people can kind of absorb it and feel it rather than, you know, being hit over the head with it? And because I don't want words, I also have a phobia of things being obvious. So I don't necessarily want emotion, visible emotion. So it's like, you know, it's all about what you're shooting, the position of the body, the lighting, the surroundings that they're in, the way that it's photographed, all of these things, which again is, you know, purely kind of instinct as well. It's like just, you know, feeling around. I'm not thinking, oh, how am I going to do this? It's just like, I think the thing is that's easy in one way for me is because everything's always coming from the same place. So I always want everything to be exactly the same. It's not like, oh yeah, now I have a new idea and what's going on in this idea. It's like, no, it's the same one all the time. So it's just, I know what it is and it's easy to access it, you know? And, you know, I think, you know, hopefully over, you know, time getting better at doing that and as well, like, you know, and knowing very clearly, you know, what I want and what I don't want. And
I mean, I feel like just, you know, the way that you're describing the way that the camera communicates and stuff like that, I feel like your films kind of end up feeling somewhat musical to me in some way, because pacing and timing and like angles and texture, just there's so much information in what you're doing and how you're doing it. And the silence is so loud in your films. And it does just end up, to me, just having this same kind of almost like flow that I feel with music. So there's points where music does come in, it just feels like this other like level of emotion or like communication coming in that sits within that world. But it doesn't feel like the silence. It doesn't feel like silence. It feels loud equally. It feels equally loud as anything musical happening in the film, you know, feels.
I mean, for a long time, really, and this was, you know, not a problem, but kind of a problem, or something I was trying to get over, because really what I wanted to do, and I spent many, many, many years doing exactly this, is I didn't even want people to move. Like I just wanted like a still shot, and then I wanted it to stay there for, you know, like forever, you know, so and I made, you know, many, many films like that. And yeah, so also, for me, it's especially the last few years has been trying to really work out how can I tell a story, make my films have a clear narrative and a clear structure, because it doesn't come it doesn't come natural to me to do that. I always go tend to drift towards the abstract and, be super slow and super quiet and super, like that. So I've been doing that the last few years. And the new film, the short film, is like, to me, it's almost like an action movie, because it's like I've never made a film like that where it's, it's constantly, there's action happening constantly and it's very quick. So, yeah.
Do you think that you talk about like pre-language and feeling and stuff like that. Do you think that it's to do with the way that we feel memory? The way that memory works is abstract, and sometimes it's not. I mean, especially wherever there's trauma around it, it's not linear. But memory just like becomes like a flash. Like we never feel memory as like a solid line of events. We feel memory as like almost like still flashes or still movements. And do you think that I mean, maybe I'm even proposing to ruin the magic just by even asking that question, but like is there like a memory play going on with what's happening as well? Or like like there's a very nostalgic feeling to your films. Is there a sense where you're drawing from some feeling of not unconscious memory, not pre-conscious memory, but just abstract memory and feeling or trauma or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'm not really sure how, or I don't know. I find it really hard to. I don't know. It's like an area, and it's like it's closed off, and I just can't. Even if I try to, the only way I can kind of get in there is to put it into other things, like.
Yeah, because that's why you do them, right? You can't talk about them really.
Yeah.
Make the thing that tells you
exactly. Yeah.
I know you, and we grew up in the same place, and like, the masturbator's heart. You talk about. I mean, there's a scene where one of the characters talks about a kid that got killed at the pool. I mean, I remember that, and also the house, the dinner scenes, and stuff like that. I mean, I felt
that story with the pool. Like, I've really got no idea how that ended up in there and why it's in there, because it's not like something I think about or anything, but for some reason it just popped up in there. And it turns out in that film there's a lot of things, but pretty much everything is like super personal to me, which I didn't realize at all. Like, actually, when I wrote the script, I was like, wow, I kind of wrote something that's completely like, not personal, like doesn't come from this huge, deep place. And then when we were shooting it, I realized that literally everything in there is super personal. And all the choices that I made and the world that I, created around it were super personal.
Yeah. I can definitely see that for sure.
It was really weird, actually, because one thing that's kind of funny is that when I wrote the script, they had the first scene of the movie was supposed to be, there was the main character and he was riding his bike, but he had a mask on, like he had a face mask on. And this was, in 2017, so way before COVID.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I had this character wearing a face mask, and I was like, that to me, that idea seemed so radical. I was like, wow, that's so intense. like weirdly enough, it's like when by the time we shot the movie, everyone was wearing masks, and I didn't for that reason, but it was weird. So it was like strangely prophetic in some kind of weird way. Yeah.
You felt the COVID coming.
I don't know.
I know that overthinking anything to do with your work is not a great idea necessarily for the way that you work. But I'm going to ask you a question, which is, what themes do you feel are repetitive in your work? I think everyone, even if they're making radically different ideas, tend to kind of, gravitate around particular themes in their work. So how would you describe the themes? Or is it bad altogether to like nail that down? Is it preferable to not nail that down for you? If you could, what would they be?
I don't even know. I mean, obviously, my all of my work is about childhood. I mean, it's all.
That's a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a book of my artwork that was released several years ago, and it's called Childhood. It's like it's all about childhood. My own little demented version of childhood. I just think of my work as like kind of inner landscapes. So kind of, I think. I don't know, but I mean, there's many things that repeat, in my work all the time. It's always the same thing. Especially in my visual art, you can see it, very clearly. There's like, an image of, innocence, and there's something destroying it.
Yeah. I feel like that's the best description I feel like I've ever heard you give it. Just the sense of like innocence and something destroying it. Yeah. Do you feel like that's just kind of become part of like the makeup of like what fuels you, childhood and innocence and the loss of innocence and how that functions?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, probably, but I don't know. It's like my brain I literally can't even my brain like just goes like
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that I have this compulsive need to keep doing certain things, and I keep doing them, and I'm aware that I'm doing them, and I know there's like this particular thing, and I'm always trying to get closer and closer and closer to it. But I don't know.
Your last film, your new film, I should say, not your last film, which I'm going to get you to pronounce because my French is not.
It's called Promenade Gâchée.
Promenade Gâchée.
A ruined walk. It means a ruined walk. Yeah.
So this is like your new film. It's like I guess it's sort of on the precipice of coming out soon. I mean, this film is it's so emotional. To me, I just was like, cool, I'm going to watch the film. And I mean, and it's our score in it, but we did it in reverse, where you kind of essentially use the music to score it. And so we hadn't seen it, and I mean, I'm just watching it, and then I just felt like this, like, I don't know, I just burst into tears, could not stop crying, felt massively depressed for the whole rest of the day. And for me, I just had this massive sense of grief over time the passing of time and the nature of how, you know, relationships can change in time. And, you know, just like there are lines in there, like the words that you use are very few, but they feel like a punch in the stomach sometimes. Like, you know, I miss you. Are you there? You know, you say you hate words, but I feel like there's these moments where you use words in such a way that are just like, you know, it's not a linear experience of like language or words. It's like the words themselves are like portals or like gateways to like these packets of emotional like intensity. There's so much more happening than just the literal meaning of that word, of those words. Is like this implication so profound. I mean, I feel like there's just like, you know, it's like this, there's just like emotional language in this new film, and in all of your films and in all of your work, that is, it's like the way that it can't be pinned down ends up being relatable to like 1,000 situations.
I'm super happy of all the things that you're saying, because they're all things that are there, you know, for me. But I feel like I felt like maybe, you know, because when I wrote the script, actually, it was very consciously like a kind of purging of a lot of things that I was going through, but I felt like kind of through the process of making it that I'd kind of neutralized all those things, and like maybe they weren't there anymore. So I'm happy that they are still there.
Yeah, I mean,
because I felt, I mean, it's also, you know, I mean, structurally, it's a strange film. You know, it's very non-linear, and well, actually, it goes, you know, semi backwards, and yeah, it kind of. I mean, I thought it was really quite unemotional, and it just become like about. I was trying to do something like the language of the film. I was trying to like come up with something. Like I had this thing in my head of what I wanted that was kind of way more sophisticated than anything I've ever done before. Like the way to get everything to happen, and the way for to give this the emotion that I wanted, and all of this stuff. But I felt like maybe it was it. I didn't know if any of the emotion, you know, remained really in there. And definitely the music that you guys made, like completely. I mean, when I put that in there, that like just like opened it all up. Like to me, you know, without that there, it actually, I don't know. I mean, it was so buried that, yeah. So that the music, like, just completely actually opens it all up. So it's amazing.
The thing that hit me happened even before the music. Like the thing that hit me, just like it hit me, and then the music kind of hit me after that. So I feel like it's just this incredible like tapestry thing that you create. Yeah.
Well, if every other moviegoer in the world is like you, the film will be a roaring success.
You gotta hit.
But the thing is, it's like the most important part of it is that, to me, as much as there are like there might be like literal aspects of story, to me it's like everything that's happening is this emotional language, and emotions, they don't talk. Like human emotion is a metaphoric. Like metaphor is the only real way to express emotions in a way that has an impact. You know, we're always talking about this, about how you can say something literally that this is a feeling, but it's like the metaphor of it is much more powerful. To be sick to your stomach, or to be, you know, heartbroken, your heart isn't broken. It's like a metaphor. Like we just like we express our emotions in this metaphoric way, and I feel like that's what that film kind of did for me. I know people have mentioned that they feel uncomfortable about your work, that your work can make them feel really uncomfortable. Is there anything that you want to say about that? Because it can be like provocative, like your work can be really provocative.
Yeah, well, in general, I think people that, as soon as they see anything about children, they automatically just go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But also there's I don't know. I feel like sometimes people make this assumption that I'm kind of part of this particular group that does a particular type of thing, this, transgressive type of thing, and I'm not part of that group. I know that there are similarities that, overlap with people that do that kind of stuff. But I don't know, my work's so personal to me. It's like, it's just all about me. It's just me. It really is like, everything and everyone in everything I do is me, it's, I just don't know how to not do that. Like, I don't know.
Good art is like that, like,
yeah,
it becomes universal because, I feel like it becomes universal because it's just truth. It's therefore it's everyone. I don't know.
Yeah.
One thing I just wanted to mention as well, your like use of titles and fonts, and your titles. I don't know if anyone ever asks you about that, but they're pretty spectacular. Like given today's climate with titles, like your titles are like really pretty incredible. I mean, I remember when we used to make films, and like because I found some the other day, where we'd paint the paper and like we'd get stencils and like either get stickers or stencils. Do you remember that? And then and those would be the titles. And then I remember in your work that kind of shifting and not doing that, and then there seems to be like somewhat of a return to like the use of doing titles in this really incredible creative kind of way. It's almost like the most mind-blowing thing to me when the Masturbator's Heart started. It already took me out of like, this is not an ordinary experience of a film.
It was yet one of the many things that my producer was like, you got to not do that.
Yeah, because it's like it goes against, it's like everything you do just like breaks the rules of what you're supposed to do. But it's incredible. Like it's just actually like it immediately like sets the tone for the fact that you're watching something really don't take this lightly. And it's also confusing, and I imagine it being confusing to people and people going like, oh, they don't know how to use it. I know you, and I so like that's not a question for me, but it is. It's like it immediately unsettles the viewer, and it gives the viewer a sense of like instability. I think in a very visceral way out the gate. It doesn't surprise me that your producer was like, because I think it is, it's like breaking the rules. It's super unsettling.
Yeah, I also want to like just talk to you about your music projects. Like you've got this tape series that you're doing, right? Like I know you released a tape of synth music where there is one copy that no one will ever hear. Which I just think is just like so brutal. It's just like the brutality of just like I'm
going to make stuff. You can't have it.
You can't have it. So what's the impetus there, if you know, or if you can?
I mean, really, with those, like for some reason, just like one day, I just thought like, wow, I want to make tapes. I just got really like excited about making tapes, and so I just on a whim just went to I found this place in the UK that sells tape parts. And I just brought like a bazillion cassette tapes and cases and labels and all this different colors and all this stuff. And then I just thought I just want to make tapes. So I just started making them just for my own, just for pleasure, really. And so each one, there's like just one of them, and then they've all got audio on them of different types of things, different types of audio. The first tape that I made was actually I put every song that I could think of that is my worst nightmare to hear. So songs that my mum would listen to in the car when I was a kid or something like that. The songs that literally if I hear them, they make me want to kill myself.
Air Supply.
That's one of them, yes.
I remember if any Air Supply or I don't know, there was
that's on there. That's definitely on there. Yeah, so even finding that and actually having to listen to it while I put it on the tape was really just horrifying. And see, again, it's why do I do these stupid things? I don't know. But so that was the first one, and then I just kept. Then the second one, I kind of came up with this idea that there was this little boy called Michael, and he was having his birthday party was on the day of this huge tornado, and everyone got killed, and that was the story of the second tape. So I made an invitation. It's got an invitation inside it, which is you're invited to my 8th birthday party or something like that. Again, it's totally stupid. So I shouldn't even say this stuff out loud.
It's not stupid, and you should say this.
The kind of things I do in my spare time for pleasure. It's very demented. And then so I went on doing that, and then I started feeling I don't know, for some reason making these tapes was a way I could articulate certain textures and certain things. So I just kept doing it. I've made, many of them that I haven't even put online, many of them yet either. But I intend on making many more, a ridiculous amount, a bazillion of them. And then I don't know what I can do with them, but I'll just put in this little box that's right next to my desk here. So
you can have an art installation where people can come and look at the covers, but no one can listen to what's on them. They still.
Yeah, there's really no purpose for them. It's just I don't know, my own.
So what's coming up for you? I know you've got Promenade Gaucher. Did I say it right?
Une promenade gâchée, yes.
I know you have that coming out, and are you working on other things right now as well?
Yes, I'm writing a new film, kind of mostly in my head, really, at the moment. Yeah, I'm doing that. And that's it. Just doing my, I don't know, stuff, whatever happens. But yeah.
Will that be another feature as well?
That'll be a feature, yeah.
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 Okay.
And the Masturbator's Hut, is that something because that's already shown at some festivals, right?
Yeah, it just had its premiere in July, in last month. So it's had its first official screening.
Are you planning to make that available for people to have access to?
Yeah, I want to. I want to make a DVD of it at some point. So
yeah,
I will do that.
It's really awesome to talk to you. It's really awesome to talk to you about all of this stuff, and an absolute genius. These films are really amazing. And
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate you, opening up and, and talking to us. And
No, thank you. Thank you for
Thank you so much.
inviting me. I don't know how you convinced me to do this, but
yeah, I feel like very, very privileged and very honored and very grateful. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Everyone, check
you
out.
guys.
Thanks. Everyone, check out Kitty Punk. Check out Michael Salerno. Check out Michael Salerno's films, and Kitty Punk's productions. Yeah. Thanks, Michael.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.